Kia ora and welcome to Swim Chats, a podcast about swimming. I'm Shona Riddell, a writer, former journalist and swimmer from Wellington, Aotearoa, New Zealand. For each episode, I talk to a different guest from our swim community. Please hit the follow button so you don't miss an episode. If you enjoy the podcast, please share it with a friend or two. You can also leave a 5-star rating, which helps other people discover Swim Chats. And finally, to support the podcast and help me to continue running it, you can become a swim buddy on Patreon for $5 a month. To find out more, visit patreon.com/swimchats. There's a link in the episode show notes. Where should we start? I've got lots of questions. You have some very exciting plans coming up, an exciting swim. Do you want to start by telling us what your swim is and where you're doing it?
So hopefully in about 5 to 15 days, I'm going to swim the distance of Lake Taupo. So from South Little Waihi, north, hopefully, to the yacht club, I think is the ending point. So it's been a long time to get here, but I'm fully in taper, and although I don't like a taper particularly, I'm really looking forward to doing it now.
Yeah,
It's getting closer, and very much looking forward to getting it done.
yeah, that's really
Mm,
exciting. And I was thinking last year I recorded a few dozen episodes and I
yeah,
talked to some people who had swum Lake Taupo, but I think this is the first time I've talked to somebody before their swim, which is
beforehand.
really cool because, I'm really interested to talk to you about the training and the preparation that goes into something like this. Because
Yep,
obviously, when you talk to someone afterwards, it's more, what happened on the day and how it felt on the day. But
yeah,
of course, it's a much longer time to actually prepare for the swim, whereas the swim itself is a day.
mm.
So I'll start off by asking, what made you decide to swim Lake Taupo in particular?
Um, I think I'd had a bit of a personal kind of bubbling away. Could I swim longer? Our mutual friend Brett was very good at kind of slowly planting seeds around. Shall we do this? Shall we go a little bit longer? Shall we just, swim around to this bay? And I always really enjoyed it. I was always very intrigued by endurance sport mentally as well, in terms of what drives athletes in that kind of personal challenge motivation space. Um, so that kind of combined for me. I had a bit of a moment, I think, where I was contemplating doing something a bit longer. I had kind of been talking to Vicky and Brett and certain other people, kind of peppering them with questions every now and then around what it would mean. Um, but I went to the funeral of a family friend, and that was quite a key moment for me. He had done something amazing in his life, which I actually didn't know about. And it kind of made me reflect on the fact that, life is for living whilst you have it and whilst you're able. And so, kind of, why shouldn't I give it a go? Um, that kind of was the real start of it. It wasn't out of the blue, though. I'd been swimming for a long time, well, a fair few years, kind of getting longer and kind of working on technique and things like that. So it just kind of came together then. So it was
Yeah,
probably about, well, it was just on a year ago that Dave passed. So kind of from then onwards.
yeah. And also, I'm sorry for the loss of your friend, and I understand how
Yeah.
sometimes losing someone special to us can inspire us to do something that has meaning for us.
Yeah.
And is something that they've inspired us to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
definitely
And
get that.
and that's why I have this other side of my swim, which is around the creating awareness for dementia, because that is the condition that he was affected by, and that our close family friends were. So when it all came together, it very much made sense for me to do this in support of that. So
Yeah,
that's hopefully I'm having little inroads with the people that I know. So that's also been a really great thing to have come out of it, no matter what happens on the day.
Yeah.
I've had some really good conversations, and I know that other people have, and that's really cool.
Yeah, that's great. And I'll talk a bit more in a minute about your Give a Little campaign. Um, and I imagine that, deciding to do something like this gives it a lot of meaning, but also gives you some added strength in terms of how it will feel on the day, which I know hasn't happened yet, but also just in terms of persevering with the training, that it like just having that sense of purpose would be a huge motivator, like even when it feels hard and challenging on certain days.
Yeah, and I think, Phil, his advice as well was to prepare for that. He talks about the third quarter. So, you know, I mean, I think you've talked to John Hancock, or there's lots of other podcasts around where he talks about different things that he's done. Phil's talked about how he deals with that in terms of, I think, mentally he goes over his rubbish bin route or something from when he was a kid. I can't do that. Like, I can't count. I can't. My brain is not there. But if something's linked to a purpose for me, it's very motivating. So, in anticipation of potentially getting to that point, it's a bit of planning around that too. I know I have a purpose that's bigger than just me. So, can I carry on? Let's carry on. Let's go to the next speed stop. Let's, deal with the next half an hour of crappy water or chop or whatever and just carry on and reassess at that point. So there's a little bit of strategy involved there too.
Yeah. I
Hope,
remember talking to Phil. He's got his own episode of this podcast, and I
yeah,
remember him talking about how every swimmer is different, and so he has to come up with a different way to um, I guess sort of help the swimmer get from point A to point B,
yeah,
and that's different for every single person. So, like you said, some people benefit from counting or thinking about something repetitive, and other people, it's something else completely,
yeah.
which I find really interesting, and I can totally imagine how that would be the case.
Yeah.
So with Phil Rush, does he write your training program, or is he more sort of there on the day? Like, how does it work with him?
So I think I'm not sure what he's done for other people. I think he can be involved in terms of writing program. For me, particularly, I met with him really early on, partly to go, is this even going to work? But he really gave me the high points. I do train in a squad with him as part of City Swim. So I see him kind of once a week when he's not out on the straight or whatever. But he gave me the high points, make sure you do a 6-hour swim beforehand, try and aim for this many kind of peak weeks leading up. And then I kind of took that, and with a little bit of help from the likes of Brett and Vicky and my husband, who's also a trainer and has lots of experience in ultras and things like that, kind of worked on what a progressive program would look like. Came up with that, kind of circulated it amongst a few people, and people said, "Yeah, that seems like it'll be okay," and then that's what I've done. So, it's it's interesting because in this week of taper, that's probably one of the hardest things to come to terms with, is have I done enough? I've delivered what I said I was gonna do, but I hope that what I said I was gonna do was sufficient for the end result, and I just have to have faith that it will be, and
Yep.
also a bit of flexibility and, I guess, be humble and understanding that things will change and it'll go up and it'll go down, and it, might turn out to be a horrendous, start off beautifully and then turn out to be horrendous because that's what the weather gods want to do, and just go with it, really. But I'm
Yeah.
very clear that I've delivered what I said I was going to do, and I'm really proud of that. At times that's really hard when you're a busy person and you have children and family and work and all these other responsibilities. So I think that's why I'm really looking forward to doing the swim. It's because that's just the icing on the cake now. I've done all this other work and I've done all the distance, which at the beginning I didn't think I potentially was going to be able to do. So that's really cool. It's a
So
really
that
comfortable
in
space
itself
to
is a
jump
big
on.
yeah, that in itself is a big achievement,
Yeah.
right? Just
Yeah.
and yeah, so when did you start your training? Like, was there sort of an official start time, and what level were you already at with your swimming when you started your program?
I was already swimming kind of 3 to 4 times a week, so, um, probably more like 3, but I'd been swimming quite consistently for quite some time, and then I upped that to be consistent at 4 until probably about July, and then from then on, it kind of ramped upwards from July onwards, July, August onwards. So and it would generally involve, um, swimming in 3 squads a week and then individual sessions since probably, I would say, November. I've been swimming kind of 6 days a week. Partly that's because of my life and the structure and schedule. I can't, as the distances got bigger, I couldn't necessarily always swim one big block. So I had to break things up and do mornings and afternoons and so on. So that Phil was instrumental there in terms of saying, make sure you do big distances, back to back on a weekend as we get closer. So you're swimming the next one fatigued, you're dealing with lactic acid, all of that sort of stuff, which I think has really helped.
And
Hmm.
I should ask, with the current situation in the harbour with the unfortunate sewage leak,
Terrible.
has that affected your training? Are you
Not so much now, quite fortuitously, I think, because I'm mainly holding in a pool. So and that's because it's the lake and salt water gives you extra buoyancy. So at this time, I'm just trying to hold what little pace I have. I'm not very fast. So, what little pace I do have, I'm trying to hold that and hold my aerobic endurance in swimming pool essentially. So, I'm doing lots of sessions at Tanai, which we're really lucky to have out here in the hut and also there are kind of different summer pools, which Wellington's blessed to have, I think.
Yeah, that's right. And if you're comfortable sharing, is there a certain pace that you have to hold? Like what is your sort of 100-meter pace at the moment, or is
Oh,
it's more
100
about
meters.
over a long period?
Um, I think about a 3.2 over a long period, if we don't take into account toilet stops. So that, but I fully expect to be much slower than that over the whole distance, and that's with it. It'll be what it'll be. It'll be. Who
Yeah,
knows?
it's more about the distance, isn't it, than
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not a
Yeah.
race, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with I'm interested to know about the nutrition side of things, and I imagine people listening will be interested as well. Like, are you given advice on what sort of food to eat while you're training, and do you have sort of a plan for what you're going to eat in the morning or the night before the day?
Yeah. So, I think we're really blessed in our Wellington swim community in terms of the amount of information that some of the ultra swimmers have shared, like Karina and Rebecca and John and Brett and Vicky. They're all very open in terms of saying, kind of this is what we did in terms of nutrition or so on. So I've been very blessed in that formed a really good starting point in terms of what nutrition over the event day might look like. Um, and then I was also lucky that my husband's cousin is a high performance nutritionist for ultra runners in particular. And so I reached out to her and said, you know, is there any tips and guidance you can give me? And I've worked with her quite consistently. Um, and that's been more around making sure I get to now uninjured, healthy, happy, able to sustain such a training load without my, immune system breaking down or suffering injuries. So she's been able to really help me unpick I had like a missing lunch syndrome and a missing afternoon tea syndrome, like just busy, didn't do it. So and I'd been like that for a really long time. So, all of a sudden I'm having to increase my carb kind of um intake to make sure that I was fueling appropriately for the swims that I was doing, back to back and back to back. On the morning of, I'm planning on just sticking to what I would normally have, nothing that upsets my stomach, same the night before, but just as Phoebe would say, increasing the stores of glycogen in my muscles. So, um, having a drink of juice with my dinner, or having a yogurt with maple syrup was her tip before I go to bed, just to top up those stores. So I'm starting from a kind of full glycogen muscle fullness situation, and then kind of keeping the sports stuff going at regular intervals that next day. So gels, bliss balls. What else? Liquid fuel, so tailwind, all those types of things. I may also
Uh,
have Marmite and chippy sandwiches. It's on my fueling list. I don't know how Phil's going to go with that, but anyway, yeah, he said I could
that
have what
sounds
I want, so that's what I want. Mm.
that's such a Kiwi thing, isn't it? That's
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, I've heard other swimmers talk about needing some sort of reward, like when they're sort of almost at the end of the swim, and it can be something completely random, but just something for them to look forward to. And
yeah.
yeah,
And
so
something
that
I
might be
think
yours.
different I'm anticipating, and Phoebe's talked to me about it, and other swimmers have talked to me about it around, you're taking on so much sweet stuff because basically all your fuel over the course of the day is just sugar, sugar, sugar. And that becomes really fatiguing in your mouth. Even, doing 6 hours of it was enough. So figuring out what you can take to kind of cleanse that palate quickly as well that's probably been a challenge. I've supported my husband through ultra running, and in a way that's easier for them because you can say, would you like this salt and vinegar sandwich, or would you like this Marmite thing, or and they can choose, but you kind of don't have that ability when you're being fed from a boat at 30-minute intervals and it's all kind of planned out. So, yeah, we'll see
And
how it
and
goes.
and and they're not allowed to, the people on the boat aren't allowed to touch you, like it's part of the rules of the distance swimming. So how do you receive a sandwich? Um,
I've got, actually yeah. So,
so like Tupperware container.
Tupperware containers, and
Yeah.
the lid, this is Vicky Tates, so who's great. Thanks, Vicky. Um, the lid's attached, and then that gets attached to a rope.
Oh,
So
that's
tread water,
smart.
open, shove it
Yeah,
in. Probably won't be very elegant, to be fair. Just shove it in
doesn't
and
matter.
then keep going, hopefully.
Yeah,
That's the plan. Mm.
having an attached lid, that's genius.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Sometimes it's the little things, right? That
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's cool. And you mentioned earlier, the importance of being flexible when you're preparing for a big swim. And so I know that you have a weather window, or sort of like a week or so. You can't plan the exact day that the swim will happen yet. It depends on the conditions. And so how does that work? Like, are you sort of on standby for a week or so? You get the call from Phil, you get up to Taupo, and then the next day you start. Is that how it works?
Yeah, I think so. So I'm on standby effectively now. Um, which for me also includes packing my children's camp clothing and all sorts of other things. Um, but bags are packed, food is ready, planners done, all of that. I understand that Phil will just ring me and kind of say, okay, the weather looks good for the day after tomorrow. Get yourself up to Taupo tomorrow. I do know that other swimmers sometimes go and stay up there, but that's not an option for me. So, yeah, get yourself to Taupo tomorrow, uh, and we'll go the next day. So, there's been a wee bit of logistical planning at my end, work and family, but hopefully it will all come together. Fingers crossed. Yeah, flexibility. I think I'm not focusing on the weather now. I can't control that. It's completely out of my control. It's all up to those gods and Phil as to when I go. So I'm just continuing to swim, making sure I'm hydrated, making sure I'm still having lots of carbs, trying to just make sure that those bits that I can control are all ticked and ready to go. And then, yeah, hopefully the call will come and I'll get to go. And if it doesn't, oh well, I can't do that either. I can't control that either. So you just got to be flexible and, oh well,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. And I imagine as a Wellingtonian as well that you're very used to training in all sorts of different conditions. So,
yeah,
cold in the winter, you'd be swimming with Brett before sunrise
yeah,
in 10-degree water. And also
yeah,
in Wellington, we get the chop from the prevalent northwesterlies in Oriental Bay.
yeah.
Was that something you were already doing before you started training for this? Or have you had to sort of um, do more of that sort of thing?
It wasn't something I started off doing. It was probably about, I'm trying to think now, probably about 24 months ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, I decided I'd drop my wetsuit.
Mhm.
So I got to the end of one summer, um, and I think it was Adrian and James had been talking about the freedom of not swimming in a wetsuit. And I thought, oh, all right, crack on, I'll give that a go. And ended up swimming through that whole winter and really loved it. Um, I think there's something so exhilarating about freezing initially, and then and then coming in. It does sound a bit sick, doesn't it? Does sound like, um,
I know
but
what you
yeah,
mean.
there is something really amazing about that. So I'd been doing that for quite some time, I guess, and it's kind of just become a new normal. The really early morning swims with Brett, I do like my morning sleep, so that's something that kind of has only come about kind of this summer as such. I'd swum with him for a long time, but perhaps not the early doors. But I love it.
Mhm.
It's so good, and it works for me family life. And
Yeah.
I try to make it as less impactful as possible. So yeah, that's been good.
And how do you find swimming in the dark in the sea?
I actually have only done that a couple of times, and yeah, I really enjoy it, which I'm I don't think lots of people do. I do, to be fair. I don't know if I would in the open ocean. That might be a bit that I might start worrying about what's beneath me or not, but in the harbour, no problems whatsoever.
One thing I tend to ask people often is because I'm sort of getting better at swimming in the chop, but it's still quite a challenge for me in the sea. So how do you find keeping your streamline and breathing when the waves are sort of all over the show and it's a washing machine kind of a day?
Um, I don't know if I really enjoy it. So, I spent a lot of time in my end of youth, so my late teenage years in the surf out north. And I really, really do enjoy it. I like swimming into the chop rather than a following, is it called a following sea, basically? I think so. I'm not so good at that. I don't have the core strength. Can't keep myself can't keep myself straight. Um, I think, yeah, Barb would say making sure your arms are a bit higher and you're driving in, your stroke rate probably increases a bit more and you're really driving in a bit shorter, which is something I've had to work on anyway. I did have a shoulder niggle, so I used to glide a wee bit too much, so I've tried to shorten that up. So similar to that, I think is kind of the the advice. Don't know whether it was. I'm just get out there and get into it basically. And learn to swim, learning to breathe bilaterally. I think that's the other key, right? If so that then if you're getting smashed in the face by, horrible Wellington harbour chop, then
You have
um
another
me-
option.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite nice to
Plan
sometimes be
B.
able to avoid that.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
So you
good.
mentioned you were getting in the sea as a teenager, and then did you sort of have a break before you got back into swimming later in life, or have you been getting in the sea your whole adult life?
Um no, so I learned to swim as a kid. I didn't competitively swim. I think I did a couple of chocolate fish races. I grew up in the North Waikato. I think primarily I learnt to swim so I didn't drown. I grew up on a farm, so I didn't drown in the creek or in a trough. Um,
Is a
and
chocolate fish race where you get a chocolate fish for
yeah, it's like an all
completing the race?
comers. It used to be up there. It used to be like an all comers carnival. So kids that perhaps had been through the Learn to Swim program and who were kind of that next step of in a squad, but maybe not competitive. So not trying to kind of go to what do they call them? Div ones and twos. That was kind of me. And then I stopped swimming like that because I played another sport, and that took over all of my time. So I didn't kind of swim any more than that. I spent a lot of time in the surf, primarily because I had friends that surfed. And so I really enjoyed just being out and being with them. I didn't surf so much, but liked being out there. Um, and then I came back to swimming and kind of the mastery of technique of swimming. I think that's a bit that I really like, that continual seeking of mastery, of improvement. Kind of came back to that probably about how old's Lottie now? 8, probably about 9 years ago or 8 years, no, 7 years ago after the birth of my second child. And then, yeah, I was really lucky that um, I met someone who swam with Barb's crew. We did a swim round Matthew Soames, and he turned out to be my neighbour. I just moved into a new house. He convinced me to go to Barb's squad. And then it's kind of just blossomed from there. The Wellington swim community is so amazing. Um, and yeah, I've just kind of found a crew of people that I really enjoy swimming with. They've got really similar kind of interests, and we're all from different kind of walks of life, but we like adventure swims and things like that. So yeah, it's been great to come back to that kind of community side of swimming.
It's awesome, and you get, inspired by the people around you, right? Like, no matter what level you are,
Yeah.
if you see other people doing things that sort of plant a seed, like you said earlier, or, you think, "Oh, that's cool," and then you think, "Oh, maybe I could do something like that," and then, yeah, it just sort of grows from there, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think something I really love about our community is that it doesn't matter what your goal is. So it doesn't matter if your goal is to swim to the pontoon and back, or to, the big one for lots of people is making it to that lighthouse, and everyone is really supportive of that in terms of, there's no kind of underlying competitiveness or anything like that with the crews that I swim with anyway. And that's really awesome to just it's really wholesome to want to see people succeed, and that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
really cool.
it's such a good vibe, isn't it? Like
Yeah, it
to,
is.
go have coffee with people afterwards and people say, "How was your swim?"
Yeah,
And no
yeah.
matter how far you've gone, people go, "Oh, that's awesome," that sounds really good.
I think
Yeah.
something we've noticed, because we come in, when often lots of Barb's crews going out, is the growth in numbers because now everyone wears your pink tail, whatever it is, your float
Toe
at the
float?
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's pink and we call it my pink tail. Um, seeing there used to be a handful, but now there are so many that come out because we're coming back into it. And it's so great to see. It's so good to see, even if it creates a bit of slalom swimming, coming back in. It's really awesome. All different types of people getting to just love it, love being in the ocean, and that's fantastic.
If you're just going for a fun swim,
Uh-huh.
without any sort of distance or goal in mind in Wellington, where's your favourite place to
Ooh.
swim?
Um, I really used to like Scorching Bay, which is interesting because I live in the hut. I really like wharf jumping with my kids off the Eastbourne Wharf. That's been a ritual that we've done off Days Bay Wharf. We've done that every year since they were quite little. I think recently though, the top thing for me would be you have to be wee bit of a swimmer to well, you do have to be a swimmer to do it, but is a bay swim from Shelley Bay around to into Tatahi Bay. We've done that twice this
Mm.
season, and I love it. Absolutely love it.
How far is
It's
that?
I think it's about 5 kilometers, and it is a bit challenging, I guess, in terms of because it does feel very exposed when you're going round the point. Uh, but if you're with the right group of experienced swimmers and so on, and you've got all that safety stuff ticked, it's a really great swim because there's big kelp forest, there's fish, there's an amazing drop off at different points as well, where it just kind of drops off and it's like the Cook Straits, this beautiful blue color, so crystal clear. Yeah, phenomenal. We're really blessed to have those sorts of environments. So hopefully Wellington Water gets its stuff together and cleans up that mess.
Exactly, yeah.
Mm.
Yesterday I swam in Plumerton with Barb's group. She
Oh, with
moved us
Barb's
out
squad.
there.
Yeah, yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Did you enjoy it?
yeah. I loved it. Yeah, I hadn't swum out there before, and it was
Yeah.
lovely. Yeah, and so we might at some point swim in Titahi Bay as well, which I hope we
Yeah,
do.
you
Because
should. It's
yeah,
cool.
we were talking just about how cool it is to swim in a different location.
Yeah.
Just good for the brain, and it just yeah. We all love Oriental Bay, but there's just something special about swimming in a different area. Some people for the first time that
Yes.
you see the world and you see your city in a different way.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And I think you also get to experience different coffee shops. Is that a good thing too?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah,
did that as well.
yeah, oh, very good. I had a wonderful experience this summer as well. My trip to doing Taupo really has been made up of so many highs that no matter what happens, I'm super stoked to have got this far. Like, earlier this summer, we swam with dolphins in Tahi Bay, and, I don't mean they were over yet. They were swimming in and under our
Right, with
arms, and,
you.
like, that
Mm,
was phenomenal. Just so amazing. Lots of stingrays and stuff like that. So, yeah,
that's
very much.
incredible.
Yeah,
Mm.
cool. Very good.
Experiences like that you just don't forget, right? It's
No.
just part of the magic of the sea.
Yeah, totally.
Um, I was going to ask who's going to be with you for the Lake Taupo swim. Like, who's going to be on the support boat, and
Yeah.
yeah, is that all planned, or does it sort of depend on what day you go?
No, I've been really lucky in that I've got a core group of good mates now. So Brett's coming, and Vicky is coming as well, um, which I'm hugely indebted to them because they have lives. This is my folly, albeit for really good reasons as well. But um, and it's hard for them to carry that uncertainty of, is it going to be this or is it going to be that, and their workloads and so on. So they're coming along with a really good long-time friend of mine, Kate. And I played sport with her. That's how I initially met her. So she's seen me at my best and at my worst. So, because I might be at my worst. So, um, so that's good. My husband would have been on the boat, but my youngest has a school camp that he is going to. So, right in the middle of the window, unfortunately. So he is on ground crew if he can come. Yeah, which is good. So it's a bit sad in a way that he can't be there, but it's just a timing thing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And this might be a good time to talk about your Give a Little page because you are already fundraising for Dementia New Zealand. So before your swim, during, and I assume a
a
little
little
bit
bit after.
after.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will link to the Give a Little page in the show notes, and I will link to your Instagram page, which is swim underscore taiko, where you're updating and sharing pictures of your preparations and everything.
Yeah.
I liked with the Give a Little page how people can do just a one-off donation, or they can also pledge is it per kilometre, per stroke?
Per
Um,
kilometre and probably per
yeah,
hour. Per stroke might be a bit random, but yeah, per kilometre or per hour.
yeah,
We thought that was, a bit old school in terms of going back to your kind of famine kind of days. So make it a little bit interesting.
yeah,
I've got some friends who are doing a wager on how long it's going to take me, provided I can do it. Um, but yeah, that's kind of the options. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
That's a good idea. And yeah, so Kiwis from the 80s will remember the 40-hour famine.
yeah.
I remember it from my childhood. Yeah, where people sponsor you and pay per, I think it was per hour
Per
that
hour, I
we,
think. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
where we could eat lollies, and yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I'll just have a look through my list and see what else I was going to ask.
yeah. I think this, as well as this being like I said before, a bit of a personal journey, a personal growth thing for me, because let's face it, you wouldn't sign up to do something like that if you weren't motivated in that kind of way. You're either mad or, want that, probably a bit of both. But also, it really has been a great opportunity to talk about dementia and how much of an effect that has not only on people who are diagnosed with it, but also families and caregivers, and actually the ripple effect that happens. Um, like I said, with Dave, his daughter Lorna is a really close friend of mine, and I really didn't know how to support her in her journey with her dad. And then, so if we can have the conversations about, you know, yes, it's not something that's just kind of over there. It has this really long term effect for people, that really does upend lots of things in people's lives, both their relationships potentially with their parents or their loved ones, but also, their work life, their ability to parent, their ability to just be social, everything. Those ripple effects are enormous. So, if me doing something crazy enables people to kind of have those conversations with their friends or their colleagues or whatever, then that's a real win for me, like irrespective of whether we raise money or don't raise money. Um, since I've been doing it, it's been amazing to me how many people I work with, for example, who have been touched by dementia, either because of a parent or they're actually going through it now, or yeah, it is, over 70,000 New Zealanders are affected by it. And I don't think that includes the ripple effect, and
Yeah.
it's just going to get more and more prevalent as our society gets older. So, yeah, within our groups of friends, having those discussions now around kind of ways to support and so on, I think is
Yeah.
really valuable.
It's, I was gonna say it touches a lot of people's lives, doesn't it, in New Zealand, and I know what you mean about the ripple effect, how, yeah, knowing people who are impacted or who have dementia, I yeah, being able to talk about it and support other people is massive, and
And
I
I think
noticed that. Oh, sorry? Yeah.
I think the other thing for me that perhaps I knew it at some sort of, very superficial level was actually how preventable potentially these things are. Maybe there's no cure, right? But uh, similarly to lots of other things, the more active you can be, the more you can look after your brain health, which to me, prior to kind of doing deep dives on some of the stuff as part of this journey, I wouldn't have really had that much of an idea about how to do, what that would mean in terms of, okay, so if I'm exercising every day, does that actually have a good effect on my brain? Like, okay, maybe I'm a bit stupid, but I didn't really put
Oh,
those two and two together. We talk about physical health in terms of, diabetes and cardiovascular risk and things like that, but not necessarily the link, I think, between brain health and exercise and stuff like that. So, um,
yeah.
yeah,
I was reading the Dementia New Zealand website earlier, and I noticed that they said that, and
yeah,
I'll link to the website in the show notes as well so people
yeah,
can
that'd
learn
be
more about it.
great. Yeah,
Yeah. I noticed that they've covered your swim, or they've put
yeah,
talked about your swim in their social media.
yeah.
Have you had, other media attention about this, or are you anticipating,
Oh,
apart
so,
from the Swim Chats podcast?
well, you are very lucky, Shona. um, Uh, Dementia NZ. So we didn't do this. So this is the fundraising side of it is Lorna and I together. So Lorna is the woman I talked about before, my long term family friend, the daughter.
Mhm.
Um, and I couldn't have done this part of it without her. And like there is the dementia stuff, but there is also the personal stuff. And it's had, this is not just my swim, this is my family's swim. They've been sacrificing a huge amount to help me to have the time and the ability to do this as well. So I don't want to devalue that sacrifice that they've made by not putting my right focus where my focus needs to be in the next 10 days, which, other than talking to you, is, about making sure I'm rested and hydrated and I've taken care of my professional life and, all of that sort of stuff. So I'm in the best place to give it a really good shot because they did give up stuff. My kids gave up early mornings, cuddles for a long time. They gave up me falling asleep on the couch and being a bit of a grouchy mum from time to
Oh,
times when I was absolutely knackered, which, I want to honour their sacrifice as well as the effort that I've put in. Yeah.
I love that. I've got kids too, and just, yeah, talking about kids, and yeah, I feel like even though I'm not a long distance swimmer, my kids still sort of put up with me getting up early and going for swims too. So, and my husband. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really love that, to acknowledge the family and, yeah, the people around you. And yeah,
Yeah. I definitely
yeah,
couldn't have done it without them. It's taken a lot of time and effort, and just keeping our lives ticking along has been a big challenge. And that's not just my immediate family, that's some really good friends as well who have, said, look, if you need me to pick up the kids or whatever, they've been more than happy, and I'm really grateful for that. So I
yeah.
need to keep that front and center as well, I think.
And I bet they're super proud of you as well for
Nah,
all the work
my
you've put
kids,
in.
yeah, they they
Well,
they
well,
they,
one day.
yeah, one day, maybe. No, they are. My 11-year-old made me this great she's only just kind of learning to use devices, and she's just made this great slideshow that's this motivational, like, "Mum, you have to say you can do it. You can swim Taupo, Mum," and it's like there's 6 slides or something
Oh,
in it, and she's just, she's really into it, and they both swim, and so my Christmas present from them was they swim for Swim Zone out here in the hut, and John, who's awesome, they approached him and they got I should have had it with me. They got a customized swim kit with we've got a schnauzer with a schnauzer on one side, and like they gave me a nickname and it's got the nickname on the other side, and so it's definitely been a journey that they've really got into as well. They love putting their fins on and doing a kick set with me, which I can't keep up with anymore. That's a bit of a problem. But yeah, they definitely have been part of it. Yeah.
yeah. I love that support, and I love the idea of the customized swim
Yeah,
cap as
yeah.
well.
I
That's
don't
so
know if I'm
cool.
gonna be able to wear it though. They asked the other day because I think it's a bit it might be a bit too warm. So,
Well, you can have it with you on the support
yeah,
boat,
yeah,
at
I
least.
can, just in
Yeah.
case. Yeah, yeah.
And last question I was going to ask is, you've talked about the physical training, and you've got you seem to be at peace just knowing that you've put in the work, you've done everything that's in your control, and now it's sort of
Yeah.
up to what happens next. But do you have a mental, a sort of a mental routine that you will go through, that you've sort of planned for the morning of the swim or the night before, where you just sort of get yourself into the right mindset for the swim?
Um, yes. So, um, I think if I can take you back a bit to go forward a bit, um, I'm very much of an advocate of, a sports psychologist who I think I met when I was young through playing another sport, and then kind of reacquainted myself with as I was older. Um, and so that's DG, and he talks about um, like baking a cake, essentially figuring out what success is, and then what the ingredients of that success are, and then at the end of the and I'm hugely simplifying this, at the end of the day, whatever the event is, whatever it is, you've done all that work. And that really resonated with me, um, because I have. And so irrespective that was the goal. So irrespective of what happens is like, yeah, I really want to do it and I'm gonna work my butt off, hopefully, to make it happen on the day. But I'm okay with that because I've done all of this, and that really is the icing on the cake. He talks about baking it, and then you can have all the sprinkles and icing and whatever after that. So that's really good. In terms of the beforehand, the immediate beforehand, um, I kind of want it to replicate what I normally like to be. I don't want to. I don't. I don't need to make it more than it is. I'd like to do a bit of quiet reflection beforehand. Um, but mentally, I've been kind of mentally training as we've gone along. Like if I've had a hard session to do and I've been feeling a bit rubbish, rather than making it easier, I've tried to make it harder. So if I'm in the heart, if I'm in a grind and something, and I'm doing a session and it's not going well and it's feeling like the grind, I've gone, okay, let's flip it. Let's do something harder. So that then when I get out of I've got that mentally, I can unpack if I need it on the day. Okay, I've been here before. I know what this feels like, hopefully. Um, uh, and I can just keep chugging through. So a bit of quiet reflection. I do have a bit of a reputation of being a massive swearer when I first get in if it's cold, which makes me always feel bad because of my friends that I generally swim with who don't swear. But I tend to have a bit of a sailor's. So I'll probably get in and swear like crazy. Um,
Yeah. Just let it out.
just let it out. People have tried to convince me so often it's all in the mind, don't say it's cold, etc. But I think I just have to go through that period of whinge first, and then I'm
Yeah.
happy and off I go. Doesn't just because I'm whinging doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. I just need to offload the whinge first.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And have that sort of physical response to the
Yeah.
the water and
Yeah.
and then just carry on. Yeah.
And that cathartic feeling, right? Like, yeah. I mean, by the time I always think about Oriental, by the time you get to the raft, you can't feel anything anywhere half the time. So then you just carry on.
That's
So I'm just
right.
having a bit of the same. Phil has warned me about weed, I think, at the beginning, but I don't think, who knows? I'm not really that worried. I'm not going to overthink it. I just carry on. I'm expecting to be a little bit antsy that first bit, but he's so experienced with swimmers that I'm sure he's got ways of, telling me to settle down if I need to, or giving me an extra
Yeah.
feed, or not, or, just so I can get in some sort of rhythm.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Danielle, for
You're welcome.
sharing your training and your preparations with me and with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
listeners.
Thanks for
And
reaching
as I
out.
mentioned, I'll link to Swimtope or your Instagram. I'll link to Dementia New Zealand and your Give a Little page.
Bro.
Will you have a tracker on the day? Most
Yes.
swimmers seem to, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to have tracker on the day, which technology allowing, will pin to the swim Topor page, and also to the website, because some of my older friends don't have Instagram, but it was the easiest way to kind of, let people know. So hopefully that will all be visible for people if they're so interested and they want to watch a doc for quite some time.
It's surprisingly for a small dot, as I'm sure you've followed along with other
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
especially when you know the person,
Yeah.
it's pretty exciting to check back in regularly and be like, oh, the dot's moved.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember Brett's, well, both his cook and his Bobo, actually. And I had
Mm.
a multi-screen in my, in my office. And I think I didn't even, like, towards the end, I wasn't even watching the work screen. I'm just watching this doc, like, come on, you can do it. You get so invested. Like, come on, please keep swimming. And there's lots of chat going on, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really awesome. Well, yeah, it was a pleasure talking to you today, Danielle,
Same.
and all the best for your big swim.
Thank you. And I hope that we get to meet in person. I'm going to, when I swim
I'm
back
sure
into the
we
raft, I'm
will.
going to go, Shona.
Yeah. I have a pink toe float too, so we can look out for each other.
Yeah, that'd be really
High
nice.
five. Thanks for listening to this episode of Swim Chats. Please remember to follow or subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you enjoyed it, you can leave a 5-star rating and review, which helps other people find it too. Enjoy the water, and we'll see you next time.